All right, let's go west. We don't have time for goodbyes. There's so much to get to. We have a long way to go and a short time to get there. Let's go to the west, and let's go game by game with the spreads. Matt Norlander, Tim Doyle, I'm Eric Casilius. Let's start right out of the gate. Gonzaga against Georgia State. Zags, 19.5-point favorites. 146.5 is the total. What sticks out to you? What do you say there?
You cannot simulate what Georgia State can do in practice, what they're going to see against Gonzaga. I think the only way you can bet the game is Gonzaga and over. And if you don't bet it that way, you stay away.
I think Gonzaga wins and covers.
All right, Gonzaga wins and covers. Let's bring in Todd Furman. He's our Vegas professional. He will also pick these with us. Todd Furman, 19.5, Gonzaga being favored. Your total here, 146.5. You say what?
I think the number's actually a little bit light, EK. I made the number in the mid-20s. I really believe you're going to see a price tag listed here, start to climb into that 23-24 range before it settles. But to Tim's point, talking about a Georgia State team, we know they can come at you with speed, athleticism, and their guards, but I'm just not sure they have enough firepower in this kind of spot. They can hang around early, but ultimately I think Gonzaga's size gets the best of them. I can see Gonzaga pulling away and comfortably covering this number.
Todd, I'm going to pinball back to you for the 8-9, and that's Memphis and Boise State. Memphis is the 9, but they were a 1-point favorite over Boise State. 133.5 is the total. Generally, as a rule, when I see these 8-9, 7-10, 6-11, if the more high-profile team is not getting a lot of love, then I always take sort of the other team. It almost seems like they want us to take Memphis here, which will lead me to take Boise State. You say what?
Well, last year, EK, we broke down tournament games. I got myself in hot water with a number of fan bases across the country. So I'm going to be a little bit more delicate with my words in terms of handicapping this particular basketball game. But I think when you look at this Memphis side, there's no doubt Penny deserves a ton of credit for getting a team that was well off the rails early in the campaign, putting things together, winning 2 out of 3 games against Houston. But you dig into what Memphis was able to accomplish, and I really believe they're not going to be nearly as battle-tested as a team in Boise State who had to go through the rigors of what I think was an underrated Mountain West Conference. Leon Rice, I really believe he'll have his team going here. And having a chance to see Boise State up close in the quarterfinals of the Mountain West Tournament, I think Shaver and Aycott can be the athletic duo in the backcourt to give Memphis problems. I like Boise State here, especially as they move into the underdog role.
Matt Norlander, 1 vote for Boise State, getting a point against Memphis. You going to second that motion or go the other way and make a case for the Tigers?
Well, you guys are about to experience what one of one of our employees deals with every year when I have to pick the bracket on the phone, and it is excruciating. This is the toughest 8-9 for me until we get to the next 8-9. I'm going to trust Boise State in this spot. Regular season and tournament champions in the Mountain West. Memphis has been good as of late. I also want to note that Memphis has played as a top 5 team according to BartTorvik.com's metrics, a very good predictive site, similar to a KenPom, if you will. Memphis has been a top 5 team for over the past month there. Amani Bates hasn't been on the floor. Will he join the team for the tournament? I'm not expecting that to be the case, but I will go Boise State to win in this one.
You know what I do in those cases? I do this on there. I go Boise State. All right, what do you want to do with this one?
I think Memphis is a young squad. It's going to be a lot of guys first tournament through. They only scored 50-some-odd points in the American Title League game. I like under here.
All right.
I think that Boise
under 133.5.
They're going to be able to slow this game down, no doubt.
All right, UConn is a 7-point favorite in their game over New Mexico State. What do you want to do with UConn given the 7? Tim, I'll go to you first.
I would take the dog there. I think that New Mexico State, they have an impossible time scheduling. Watching them, I love the way they mix defenses. They'll throw 2-3. They'll go 1-3-1. They'll play man-to-man. They are not going to be intimidated by this. Overall, I think that the Big East got a little bit too much respect, so I'm going to gun towards them. I'll take the dog here.
You know, I'm going to take UConn in this spot. I love the Huskies roster. They've got a lot to. I just saw them in New York at the Big East Tournament. Saw them beat Villanova less than a month ago. New Mexico State is a good team. They're worthy of that seed line. But offensively and defensively, they don't rate quite well enough for me. And they were good in the WAC, but they did get taken out. And there were some quality teams from mid-major league. I will go with UConn here, but I want to note this because I had written about this earlier this season on CBSSports.com. UConn, to me, the way it's built, the way Dan Hurley coaches this group, it is capable of losing this game, and it is also capable of going from the 5 line all the way to the regional final in this particular region there. They have a wide spectrum of what they're capable of. I really like what they have, so I'm going to take them to win and cover in this spot. But it won't stun me, guys, if this winds up, if we're locked in on this game with a minute and a half to go.
No. And look, the point is not just to pick the games, but to tell us which ones you really like, as opposed to which ones you're making a selection. I looked at UConn and I was hoping I could grab the under because I know they're going to dig in, and when you haven't seen them and their length and athleticism and pressure. But at 132, they're not giving it to me. They set that pretty low. You want to go after that 132, Todd, or you want to have at that 7?
You know, I'll lean under the total here, but I actually made the game 6.5, so I don't see a ton of wiggle room either way. I kind of want to ping pong back to Matt's point, talking about UConn being one of the more enigmatic teams in this region, because I agree completely. They have a team that has a relatively low floor on their worst days. They can look as bad as any of these teams that are in these top 6 seed lines. At the same time, on their best days, and RJ Cole gets going, him and Sonogo can be a very difficult out as far as an inside-outside combination. And as you forecast ahead to their potential next-round matchup, if they're able to navigate through New Mexico State, who we know has a dynamic scorer in Timmy Allen, this UConn team can be an extremely tough out. But I really believe the Aggies benefited immensely from playing in a WAC conference this year that was significantly better. With the addition of a couple of teams coming from the Southland, they got tested on a more night-in, night-out basis than we've seen in the past. Wouldn't shock me, to your guys' point, if we see New Mexico State hanging around late in this contest and it coming down to free throws at the very end.
Matt Norlander, your first one. Arkansas taking on Vermont and Buffalo. It's 6.5. Over-under's 140.5. Nobody was more dominant in their conference tournament in the country than Vermont. You can drive from Vermont to Buffalo. It's not around the corner, but you can drive. There will be fans there. But 6.5, it's an interesting spread. What do you want to do with Arkansas, Vermont, or do you want to go after that total of 140.5?
What a game this is. Vermont is the #1 defensive rebound team by rate in the country and #3 in effective field goal percentage. John Becker's team has been on fire. Ben Shungu and Ryan Davis, maybe the best 1-2 mid-major combo in all of college basketball. If they're not the best, they're top 3 without a doubt. Arkansas has been good. Now, it's been great at home, not quite as great away from home. I'm going to take Vermont to cover here. I'm going to, in the heat of this moment, I'll take Arkansas to win. But check back on the Eye on College Basketball podcast frequently, because this is probably the toughest 4-13 for me.
Timmy, if I'm going to go Vermont, you want me to take the money line and really go for it? What do you want to do here?
Yeah, I absolutely am going to be hammering plus the points in this spot, and I'm going to advance Vermont as well. I love the fact that, Ben and Jerry are going to be making the trip up to Buffalo. All these fans. Arkansas is going into a weird spot. It's going to be cold. Like Vermont, here's who they've beaten in non-conference. Colgate won the Patriot. Yale won the Ivy, beat UNI. They won the regular season Missouri Valley Conference. Like, we all know how well the Valley plays. And you're going to give me all these points, and it's a veteran group. I'm trying to target experience here. If this game was maybe in a different location, I'd go, man, Arkansas just has so many better athletes. But the fact that it's like up in that, when I saw they were going to Buffalo, Taylor Coppenrath and TJ Sorensen just like jumped in my head.
They both had wonderful 9-year careers at Vermont, by the way.
When they were making shots in Worcester, and I was like, oh man, this is totally going to happen again. The fact I'm getting all these points, I'll take the dog.
All right, what do you say, Todd? You want those points? You want to make a case for Arkansas, or are you going to have at the total?
Well, honestly, EK, I'm a little bit disappointed. Tim Doyle brings up Ben & Jerry's from Burlington, Vermont, but he doesn't mention the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, because Tim got himself in hot water with countless co-eds during his various stops along the way before he became an honest married man. So he was sending those teddy bears all over the country. But when you're looking at this game, I actually agree with the guys here. I'm taking Vermont plus the points. I think this is a team that can slow things down and really frustrate Arkansas. We know that the Razorbacks want to push tempo. They're going to be the more athletic bunch, but Vermont, one of the most efficient teams in scoring the basketball. Sure, it's tough to use the American East Conference schedule as a true litmus test for what it's like when they step up in class athletically, but I think Vermont is an excellent upset candidate, and it wouldn't shock me at all if Vermont gets through this game that they can be a thorn in the side of that winner of that New Mexico State UConn's game as well.
All right, next up we have Texas Tech giving 12 to Montana State. It's 131.5. And if you're looking at your bracket, we're skipping down because Alabama's going to play the Rutgers Notre Dame winner. So there's got to be a game first before we have that. So when you look now, Texas Tech giving an even dozen to Montana State, 131.5 is your total here. I've been on Tech a lot this year, not necessarily win the title, but when you haven't seen this team play and you haven't seen them in conference and you got to go up against them, that is a tough group of hombres. Todd Furman, you say what?
I'm going to look under the total here in this particular contest. I mean, when you look at Texas Tech, they're going to make Montana State work for absolutely everything and anything. And I think this will be a real shock to the system. When you look at Tech this season, you can make the case that Coach Adams did one of the best jobs from top to bottom. They never got down in their feelings, never worried about losing Chris Beard. They went out there and played with a chip on their shoulder on a night-in, night-out basis. And I think when you have that defensive tenacity, one of the best teams in the country in that particular department, you're going to be a difficult out regardless of who you play. I'll shy away from the number here. I just don't want to lay double digits with the Red Raiders. But I like this game under the total a bit. I think Texas Tech going to be more than happy to suffocate defensively and grind this thing to a halt.
Matt Norlander, Texas Tech giving 12 to Montana State, 131.5.
Danny Sprinkle done a great job at Montana State. This is a really cool. This is a program that doesn't get there that often. I like to highlight the small schools that either end long droughts like Montana State or they get there for the first time. We got a couple of those schools there. Texas Tech's been terrific. Now, one thing to keep an eye on with Texas Tech in this matchup, a big picture as well. The style that Mark Adams deploys defensively, he's been that play caller on that end of the court going back to when he was an assistant under Chris Beard. It's very successful. It's been copied in other parts of the country. But it's also different playing that style in Big 12 play where the officials are used to it. There won't be Big 12 officials that work this game there. So keep that in mind. I actually think there's a chance this game will have a decent shot at going to the over if Texas plays aggressively. We have more foul shots, more free throws. Montana State can get to the line with relatively good frequency. I will take Tech to win and to cover in this one. But it wouldn't surprise me because of Texas Tech's style and the way it plays, guys. Certainly capable that this game we look up and it's 54-47 with 2 to go, and Montana's all in that spot. All it takes
131.5. You want to go under?
Here's the problem with Montana State. I've seen them. Their best player is Jabril Bello. He was not only the conference player of the year, he was also the defensive player of the year. You know what also he is? He's the most athletic player in the Big Sky Conference. Well, you know what Texas Tech has? They have a lot of athletes as well, and I'm suggesting when you fill out your bracket and you get to a spread that is so far off of what I anticipated this game to be, I thought it was going to be 8.5. And when I see this kind of number, I just go, I'm going to bet Texas Tech, or at least I'm going to move them on my bracket. If I don't individually bet this game, look at the spreads before you fill out the brackets because you could learn a lot. Matt is predicting that Loyola, even though they're a 10 against the 7 Ohio State, they're going to be favorite in that game. The spread can sometimes lead you in the right direction.
Yeah, Michigan is favored. They are an 11. For example, we're going to get to all the regions. Can I sell you that we should take Texas Tech second half? Because when your best player is also your best defensive player and your do-everything guy, and you have so many athletes coming at him, they're going to get tired. They're going to get worn down. And in the second half, Texas Tech is going to get some free buckets, some easy stuff, some foul shots towards the end.
I think it's really hard to lay this many points with Texas Tech because you slow them down, you get them in the half court. The half-court offense could put a glass eye to sleep at times. They don't really execute extremely well, but they're going to be able to bully Montana State. They may just shoot until they score offensive rebound time and time again.
All right, we're going to whip around this one. Michigan State, Sparty, a 2-point favorite over Davidson, 143.5. Todd Furman.
I'm taking Davidson here.
Yes.
You know, as this number leaks out, I'm hoping I have the opportunity to grab the Wildcats plus 1.5 or 2. When I look at Davidson, I love the fact that they bring 4 double-digit scorers to the table. They're going to space you out. I think Michigan State prone to going through prolonged scoring droughts. And guys, I'm not nearly as bullish on the Big Ten as the committee is. I think Davidson wins here. And oh boy, what a round of 32 game if we get Davidson against Duke. I think the Wildcats are an excellent Cinderella to go moving on to the Sweet 16.
Matty?
Yeah, Michigan State's 40th, Davidson's 41st in Ken Palm. This is a total toss-up to me, and I'm going to take Davidson because it's got a slightly better chance at hitting big buckets. Oh, by the way, Foster Loyerbull, he played at Michigan State, now plays at Davidson. He's been the key to even getting Davidson into the tournament.
Fighting Steph Curry's taking Davidson?
Oh, Bob McKillop, no doubt about it. He lived there. He's my next-door neighbor. He's at my christening. How could I pick against him?
All right, Duke giving 13.5 to Cal State Fullerton, 143.5. I feel like Duke is so right now, like nobody wants any part of them. They're like, as they say, you're the kid at the monkey bars. We got to shave your head and get you back on the monkey bars, to quote, one of my favorite movies. But what are you going to do with Duke? I like Duke to really come out and maybe make a statement, get the kids' confidence back in Fullerton.
I don't trust Duke at all. The biggest 2 stages they've been on the last 2 times, they've laid massive eggs. I would take the dog in this spot.
I would take Duke to cover here. I'm going to be there in Greenville for HQ, and I think that Duke's going to have a really good shot at putting up a big-time performance and winning this game with ease.
Coach K's pretty good about knowing his kids. Todd, does he feel like he's going to need to get his kids some confidence and maybe go out and really beat up on Fullerton? You want to give that 13.5?
I mean, this is the kind of game, I think it's a lay it or don't play it type scenario. Had a chance again to see Fullerton last night in the Big West Championship, and while I give those guys a ton of credit, they didn't wow me with their athleticism. They didn't wow me with their defensive prowess. The one problem I have with Duke right now is this team hasn't shown grit. They haven't shown heart. They haven't shown tenacity, but I think their overall raw skill is enough to get them the cover here.
All right, there's your region there.
The last repeat national champion, Florida, 06-07. Baylor going to look to do that. The reigning national champs start their journey, their road to the Final Four against Norfolk State. That game will be played in Fort Worth, Texas. North Carolina Marquette, the bottom of their pod there. St. Mary's is going to play the winner of Wyoming and Indiana. UCLA taking on Akron. 6-11 game, Texas and Virginia Tech. The Hokies winning the ACC tournament 4 games in 4 days. Purdue and Yale, Murray State and San Francisco. Oh boy, it's going to be a good game. And then if Murray State advances an all-Kentucky matchup, that is if the Cats get by the Peacocks in the first round, this is certainly a tasty region in the East. All right, back here with Tim Doyle, Matt in Orlando to welcome in the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White. Look at Kenny in a tie. He looks sharp. He looks really, really nice. All right, let's start here with Baylor. 116 taking on Norfolk State out of the MEAC. That game's being played in Fort Worth, Texas. Matt, I just need a winner. You're putting Baylor on, right? There's no question here. They're moving on.
Guys, it's all for you. Baylor's going to win this game easily.
There's no UMBC Virginia situation.
That will not happen.
Okay. Tim, are you laying 20.5 with Baylor?
I would not. I would take Norfolk State in this game. They've had an outstanding year. They're the best team in their conference. And if you look at Baylor's roster right now, they're playing 6 guys. And LJ Cryer is supposed to come back at some point. Their bugaboo is three-point shooting. He's their best three-point shooter. My point is, if you're Scott Drew, you know what you're not going to do? Run your starters out there, and if you're up by 14, you're not going to push it to 27. Like, I'm getting a lot of points in this game. I'm going to take the dog.
All right, so Baylor on to the next round, Kenny. What are you going to play in this game? You play the total, or you're going to pick a side here?
I like the side. I agree with Tim. I think that they're shorthanded with losing JTT for the year and LJ Cryer not being back for such a long time. He's probably not going to be in game shape, too, if he does come back in this game, obviously, but it'll be a good workout for him. But I like the way Norfolk State has played. They've played great down the stretch. They haven't played anybody all year, but, you know, these types of teams are dangerous against a team like Baylor because I don't think Baylor was deserving of a 1 seed. And they're going to be feeling really comfortable about themselves right now, knowing they're a number 1. I think they kind of feel it's a given. I think Norfolk State will give them a battle, so I'm taking the points.
All right, so Tim and Kenny on Norfolk State getting 20.5 against Baylor in the first round. All right, the 8-9 matchup takes us to North Carolina and Marquette. This is a tough game to pick, Matt. Who's marching on in your bracket?
I got to go North Carolina here, and my biggest reason why, guys, is that the Tar Heels have performed well consistently throughout the season. They've had issues with good teams. I saw this team in person do what it did at Duke. Armando Bacot's been one of the best bigs in the country this season. This is a bit of a toss-up. Shaka Smart's done really well. Justin Lewis is a guy you're going to want to watch from Marquette. The Golden Eagles can get it done here, no doubt about it. And Shaka, personally, he's going to want some redemption after last year. Remember, Texas, 3 seed, lost to Abilene Christian. But I'm going to take Hubert Davis. Traditionally, last year was an aberration. UNC actually lost against Wisconsin in the first round, but North Carolina historically almost never loses first-round games. I'll pick the pattern to stick here. Give me Brady Manick playing well, and I'll take North Carolina to win this one.
North Carolina coming off the loss to Virginia Tech, who ran the table in the ACC. You got to lay 2.5 with the Tar Heels against the Fighting Shaka Smarts. Totals 150 to hook. What stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, in North Carolina, they need to get outstanding guard play between Love and Davis. They got that in their win at Duke, but how big of egg did they lay when they went up against a Virginia Tech squad, and they were awful in that game, and they couldn't score, and that's been their bugaboo all year. Marquette beat Villanova twice. They beat Providence by 40, and then they went to Providence, almost won that game. I agree with Matt. I think Justin Lewis is an NBA starter at some point in the next 10 to 12 years of his career, and I just don't trust North Carolina. I like Marquette here on the money line.
I think the numbers about right. 2 very good teams. I can't wait to watch this game because I'm going to bet it over the total. Up tempo. Both these teams play extremely fast. You know, Shaka Smart loves to pressure, but his team offensively has been one of the fastest teams all year. They get to the basket. They get in the paint. and North Carolina is going to be able to do the same thing. So over 150, going to be a fun game to watch. A lot of firepower here.
All right, skip down to the 4-13 matchup that features UCLA and Akron. That game being played in Portland, so certainly the Bruins will be able to travel well there, not too far away. Of course, you got to get on a plane, but so will the Zips. And Tim's ready to hammer something, and I have a pretty good feeling what he's going to hammer. But I want to start with you, Matt, because this UCLA team, first four, playing in the first four to the Final Four, and look, could have won a national championship. Here they are against a feisty Akron team.
Akron's feisty, coached by John Gross, who has taken Illinois and Ohio once upon a time. He took Ohio to the Sweet 16 a decade ago, but this is going to be all UCLA. UCLA is not fully healthy, oh, by the way, but it's looked really, really good, and it gave a great game to Arizona. Bruins are well suited on the four line here. So Akron was not the best team in the MAC. Gross is a good player, good coach, excuse me. Akron's got a couple of good players, but this is, I would be surprised if this is actually a tight game with a few minutes to go.
What are you hammering?
Oh, a game like this comes around once in a generation.
Once in a generation.
No doubt about it, because people are going to go see, and they see UCLA, they go, I know these guys. I know Jaquez. I know Johnny Juzek. I recognize these names. But there's only one person that is the voice of the MAC conference for CBS. You're looking at him. I've seen Akron. Akron has two NBA players. Ali is a wing that could do multiple things on the floor. And Enrique Freeman, hashtag BBN, got corrected me. I said he was the best rebounder in college basketball. I apologize. We all know that who's the best rebounder.
They found Oscar Tshiebwe.
Yeah, so they found, you're right, he's not the best rebounder, but he's the second best rebounder. And John Gross found him in the lunchroom. He was at Akron as a student. He goes, hey, why don't you come play basketball? And the guy has been dominating. He is a rebounding machine. You are paying an absolute premium to bet UCLA. This game should be 8.5, 9.5. What are you going to lay here? 14. Bet it now because this thing is going down. I'm actually done. I'm betting it right now. I'm not even talking anymore.
Kenny, I know that you will never lay a number this heavy. You will not lay 14 with a team like UCLA. So what will you do in this one?
I think Tim's exactly right. I love it. I only made the game 10, and I think this is a team that
10,
UCLA,
10.
10, that's it. 10. I took 15 on this. I still think 14.5 is a good number. You're right about the players. Talking about Ali and also Castaneda, the other guard. He's outstanding, too. This is like a very good, experienced basketball team that they just beat up Kent State. I know Kent State had one starter out in suspension first half. It didn't matter. Kent State tied the game up in the second half, and then all of a sudden Akron just pulled away. This is a really good basketball team. I think they'll give UCLA a bet. I don't think UCLA will be interested whatsoever in this game.
Look, I'm from Kent, Ohio, so of course I'm a Kent State fan. And to be quite honest, I'd like to see Akron win this game.
Win this game?
Yeah, I would. I would like to see that. I would like to see an upset like that to represent for the Mid-American Conference. Because as you've always said, you fight for the little guys. UCLA's been there. I'm good. I don't need to see UCLA.
Last year, who got in from the MAC? Ohio. Ask Virginia what happened in that game.
Just saying, even though Akron and Kent are rivals, I'm going to root for the MAC here, all right? All right, let's get down to our 11-6 matchup here, Texas and Virginia Tech. Chris Beard, Mike Young. Look, I love both these coaches. I mean, they can coach their butts off, and that's why they're here. This is a great game. You can see the line, Matt. I mean, that just tells you how close this is. Who's going to march on in your bracket?
I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech in this one. I'm sold on this team is so reliable in terms of how close-knit they are. You know what I love about Virginia Tech? Coached by Mike Young, and you've got some guys like Storm Murphy, Keve Aluma,
Hunter Couture,
who committed to Wofford. These are guys who were affiliated with Wofford. They've graduated up to the varsity, if you will. ACC champions. First time Virginia Tech ever won an ACC tournament. Just happened in the past 24 hours. Texas has been good. It's a veteran team. But I've heard from a couple of coaches that really like Mike Young in this spot. He is an elite level coach. Virginia Tech's this is going to be a trendy pick because of what Virginia Tech just did. Texas has been off the radar.
Yeah.
They lost early in their conference tournament. Texas played poorly last year in the NCAA tournament. That will also affect public opinion perception. I'm actually interested to see Kenny's take on that. For me, I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in this spot. Elite shooting team, playing as well as just about any team entering into this tournament. That doesn't guarantee a win, but this is a wonderful, wonderful matchup. And I just got to go Virginia Tech here. But this is my favorite 6-11.
Yeah, I'm hammering Texas in this spot. I mean, what an easy pitch this is for Chris Beard, right? He knows that all of a sudden he can motivate his team like, oh, you know that if we don't come to play, well, Virginia Tech just proved on a national stage when all eyes were on them that they could take out Duke. And another thing that's concerning for me with Virginia Tech and Mike Young, the crying. I mean, how many guys were crying after they win a championship? The emotion that went in there. Wait, you're playing in Brooklyn. It's New York City. There's an energy there. You're playing Duke. It's the ACC Conference Tournament. We win. Everybody's crying. Everybody's weeping. Now we go to Milwaukee. Like, it's almost like a drop-off. Like, the game against Duke was like a pinnacle, and now it's like, oh, Milwaukee, Texas. And it's going to be an angry Texas team, and they're going to be focused on defense because Virginia Tech has a bullseye. I love the Longhorns in this spot. Hammer Texas.
Well, Virginia Tech was probably the one team that got the worst seeding of anybody in this tournament. I can't believe they're 11 seed. They're the 13th best team in the entire country.
You love Mike Young.
He does.
11th seed.
Loves him.
Yeah, I have them at 250 to 1 to win the NCAA tournament for $100. I just thought throw 100 on that to win 25,000. I think they could get to the Sweet 16. They're the better basketball team. I made Virginia Tech 3 in this game, and Tim brings up a lot of good points. Well, I am a little bit worried. They won 4 games in 4 days, and they beat North Carolina and Duke to finish it out, and guys were crying. Can they get up and show that same intensity? This team has been clawing its way back. They started 0-4 in conference, then 2-7, and they worked their way back to finish at 11-9 in the conference. And again, they're a top 20 team. Ken Palm's got them number 23, so I'm not far off. So I have them 13th. He has them 23. Say they're the 18th best team in the country, and they got an 11 seed, worst seed. So maybe that disrespect will be enough to help Virginia Tech get by this game.
There's nothing wrong with crying, by the way.
No, it takes a lot out of you.
I did some earlier this evening, actually. Thanks, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady bracket
Thanks.
buster. But the emotion sometimes can be good because then you play to your best. You let it all out, then you get back up. Look, we all you played Division I. We didn't play Division I college athletics. You played at the highest level. Emotion can be good as long as you rein it in. And a coach like Mike Young, he's not going to let these guys just be crying all day long. It's not. This isn't a league of their own. There's no crying in baseball.
The way I would handicap this, if this game was being played tonight, I would take Virginia Tech. But now you go back and Texas, or you give Chris Beard time to prepare. We've seen how that story works out. And now what an easy motivation this is for your squad. Hey, guys, Virginia Tech's playing really hot. And this guy Couture can really shoot. We got to wipe him out. Like, yeah, this is a bad situation. It's just to start, stop, and start again emotionally. Come on. You guys are all in long-term relationships. It's hard to do.
It is. You're right. Marriage is hard work. It's also really, really hard to pick a perfect bracket. It's extremely hard. Purdue and Yale. I got Purdue marching on here against the Ivy League winner.
Listen, Yale has a wonderful coach. James Jones has done a great job there. I mean, Yale went more than 50 years without making an NCAA tournament until all of 6 years ago, and now Yale has had an NCAA tournament level team for the past 6 seasons. But I understand Purdue is seen as a bit vulnerable because it's had defensive issues and some lapses there. And Yale has made noise. Remember when Yale beat Baylor? I just don't see this being that. I think this is a dominant Purdue win. Now, James Jones, good coach, but I think Matt Painter's guys, they're going to be ready to go. And Purdue's first challenge might come, once we get to the weekend. But the first game, I'm not seeing it. I think this is a roll job by Purdue.
I think Purdue wins, but I'm going to take the dog here, which is horrible because then, you're betting the team that you're picking to win the national championship. You hate to be in those situations, but Azar Swain made a ton of big shots against a Princeton team. I thought their defense was really good. There's pedigree there. They're not going to be intimidated by the moment. I just think this is too many points. Kenny, I'm going to take the dog.
I'm in agreement. I'm on the dog in this game. I don't know. Purdue just played for the Big Ten championship game, and it was a very emotional game. I felt James Jones, defense is number one. They're going to try to slow the pace down. Actually, they're going to pressure a little bit on defense, going to force them to go faster, but Yale will take their time with the basketball, kind of try to frustrate them in this basketball game. So I actually like under the total is my better play in this game, under 144, but I am on the dog as well.
Bulldogs are the underdogs here. So you're getting a nice amount of points here, 15.5 against Purdue there in Milwaukee. All right, let's move now to Indianapolis, Murray State, and San Francisco. And Matt, another game where Vegas has a 1-point spread because it could go either way, and this game is very intriguing. How do you see this one playing out?
I think it can be an incredible game here. What we have are two top 27 teams in KenPom. Both of these teams are coached by really talented young coaches. Matt McMahon at Murray State, they got the best record in the country. Todd Golden's San Francisco Dons are dancing for the first time since 1998. San Francisco entered the season at KenPom as a top 35 team, and it only got better from there. No, San Francisco wasn't able to slay Gonzaga in conference or St. Mary's, but the metrics don't lie. This is a phenomenal matchup. This is the best first-round matchup on the board, period. I don't like how the committee, and I'm not saying it was intentional, but I don't like how the committee put these two mid-majors against each other. I would love for these teams to have the opportunity to play other big programs. But we get this, and what we get is an incredible matchup. And oh, by the way, with all this, I'll let you guys take the lines and stuff. I'll pick a game. Both of these coaches are in the mix for bigger jobs. I don't know if Golden will leave San Francisco. I don't know if McMahon will leave Murray State. I can just tell you both are going to eventually be power conference coaches. And the winner of this one, there are going to be plenty of vacancies at power conference levels. They'll be on it. I am this one. I'm going to take Murray State. Now, San Francisco rates better narrowly in the predictive metrics. I will go Murray State from start to finish. It's proven to be just a slightly better team. And there's two guys on this roster, KJ Williams, Tevin Brown. They played with John Morant. You know what that team did a few years ago? Upset Marquette in the first round of the NCAA tournament. They've got experience there. I'll ride with the Racers.
Yeah, I mean, they're 30-2.
Yeah, 20-game win streak.
30-2 and doing remarkable things. I watched them against Belmont. I think we all have a high respect for the Belmont program. They play basketball the right way. They embarrassed them. I mean, there was no other way to say it. Not once, twice. They have the athletes. They have the size. Obviously, a guy like KJ Williams is not going to be intimidated by the moment. San Francisco was not intimidated by Gonzaga, and I thought they went toe-to-toe and looked them in the eye. Problem was, it was Gonzaga, and they took them out to the shed 3 different times. So I'm going to go at Murray State here because I'm envisioning Murray State and Kentucky, and the state of Kentucky going absolutely nuts for that matchup.
Indeed. That would be if they move on and face the winner of the Cats and the Peacocks. But before we get to that matchup, Kenny, when you look at the total, is there a play that stands out to you here, or are you going to go ahead and pick a side?
This is going to be, Matt was right. This is going to be a great game. This is probably the best first round game of anybody in the country because you have two top 25 teams. And if San Francisco wasn't in the West Coast Conference and they were in the Ohio Valley, they'd probably have the same record as Murray State, maybe even better. Maybe they only have one loss. They lost 5 games to Gonzaga and St. Mary's, who are both outstanding basketball teams. So I'm going under the total. I think it's going to be a great defensive game. San Francisco's D, 19th in the country right now in the KenPom ratings. And I think they may be better than that. So this is going to be a great game, right down to the wire, close game. Every possession means something in this basketball game. I went under 138.5. All
right. So if Murray State advances, they would potentially play the winner here of Kentucky.
Come on, potentially? They're playing Kentucky.
Okay. You think that's happening?
Matt?
Well, just real quick, I'll take Kentucky. In this whole pod, this whole region, Shaheen Holloway, St. Peter's coach, he's another really talented up-and-coming coach. Just want to note, but I'm going to go with Kentucky in this spot. But with that being said, there is no guarantee. And I love. I have my rankings 1 to 68 on your CBS Sports app or CBSSports.com. I have a ranking of every team in this field 1 to 68. You know who I have third in that overall ranking? The Kentucky Wildcats. They're definitely good enough to win a national championship. It just so happens Kentucky has the potentially hardest second round matchup of any team on the 1 or the 2 line, so keep that in mind. But I've got Kentucky clearly moving on without too much of resistance here against St. Peter's.
I wouldn't lay 17.5. I'd probably take the dog if I had to come down to it. I hate taking a dog when I know they have 0.0 chance of winning the game. But Shaheen Holloway is just like primed to get like a real job somewhere up and down the East Coast at the next level. St. Peter's is next to impossible to recruit anybody to play basketball there. Rick Pitino's Iona team failed me, minus 650. I'm still angry about that loss, or else I would have hit a 17 parlay that night. Kentucky rolls, but I just wonder, what would that spread be if they played Murray in the next round? Ooh. Would Kentucky be 4.5? Kenny, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm only going to have Kentucky like 3.
Wow.
Over San Francisco. So I got San Francisco moving on, but 3.5 over Murray State. Yeah, that's it. That's going to be a great game. The East is the best bracket of all. I did the average ratings for each team in each bracket. The East came out at 112.5. The West a 111. The South was a 112, and the weakest was the Midwest. They came out 110 rating on my rating system. This game, I already played the dog. I took St. Peter's plus 18. They're going to slow this game down to a crawl. They're going to play vicious defense, and I know Kentucky has way better athletes, but again, I just don't think it's a game that Kentucky's looking at. They're looking at, we're 17, we're moving on. Who do we play next? And I think they're going to be in for a surprise. The only problem with St. Peter's, they don't score a lot, so I went under as well. I went under the total of 134. I think it's going to be just an extremely low-scoring basketball game.
Peacocks making their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2011. You know where Kentucky last won a national championship, Tim? In the city of New Orleans.
Wow.
Where are we going? New Orleans.
Yeah.
Perhaps some Big Blue Nation Wildcat magic.
We may need IVs down there, me and you.
We might.
Let's go south. Now, we don't have a line on the Arizona game because it's going to be a 16-on-16 game with Wright State taking on Bryant. And by the way, if you care, in that game, Wright State is a 2-point favorite. Winner will get Arizona. But we have the rest of the bracket. And let's get our guys in and find out what's what as we start looking at the South. I'm Eric Casilius, and out in Vegas, there's Todd Furman. And here with me, we have Matt Norlander. We have Timmy Doyle. And let's start with Seton Hall and TCU. I see the hammers out, so I'm going to go here first. Seton Hall's a 1-point favorite in this 8-9 matchup. Your total's 130. Where do you want to go?
I love TCU here. They have completely changed, like Rocky when he grabbed the mic in Rocky IV and told Russia that if he could change, that they could change. I had TCU in November. They got whacked by Santa Clara, and I left the gym and I went, oh, that's not a tournament team. Jamie Dixon turned this squad around. They defend at the highest level, and I think the ultimate respect to Jamie Dixon is ever since he's left Pitt. Look at that program. Remember when they used to be good, like go to Sweet 16s every year? He's gone down to TCU. They've adopted a philosophy, beat Kansas, took Kansas down to the wire. They can compete with anybody. Seton Hall has not seen defense like this. Horned Frogs, how do you do it?
I still want to know how come the Russian peasants got the best seats a title fight at Rocky IV, like sitting around. That's what I've always wondered watching that thing. Anyway, what do you think, Matt Norlander? Seton Hall, TCU, basically a coin flip game. Seton
That's
Hall
right.
getting a point, 130 total.
Both these teams are pretty close analytically overall. A couple of big teams as well. Seton Hall ranks amongst the tallest teams in all of men's college basketball. But guess what? TCU, top 5 in offensive rebounding. I like TCU in this spot.
Yes.
Mike Miles is a player that you're going to want to know. Oh, by the way, this is the final tip of Friday night, and our buddy Avery Johnson's going to be on the call on True TV, but this is the last game that will tip in the first round, so sometimes that late Friday window can give us a little bit of craziness. I think there's a good chance here. I love a good 8, 9, 7, 10 in that final tip window. We have that here. Give me TCU.
All right, where's the value here? Let's go out to Vegas and get Todd's thoughts on this one.
Well, I mean, the guys made a compelling case for TCU. There's no doubt about it. When you look at the transformation, this team has shown it can go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the country. The big concern I have with TCU, especially in a neutral court setting, is their ability or lack thereof to hold on to the basketball. I mean, this is one of the most turnover-prone teams in the entire field, and they try and atone for that by getting to the offensive glass, where they have one of the best offensive rebounding rates in the country. But at the same time, we know the key to winning games in March as the stakes get ratcheted up is being fundamentally sound in the backcourt. I'm not as bullish on TCU as the guys. That would be my lean. I actually like this game under the total a bit. I think both these teams will be able to lock down defensively, and it has all the makings of a good old-fashioned slugfest. Not exactly the most exciting way to ring in the final game of the night, but at the same time, I think 60 points could be the threshold it takes to get a victory. I'm going under the total in the low 130s.
All right, traditionally we hear 5-12 and everybody's ears perks up, right? That's the upset line, the 5-12 line. This is one where you look at and you go, okay, Houston, UAB, and the line's 7.5, opened at 8.5, already dropped a point to 7.5, total's 136.5. You want to make a case for UAB and maybe even to win outright here? What do you say?
I would not lay 7.5 points with the Houston team that when you're able to slow them down, Yikes.
And I'll point out, you loved Houston last year, so it's not like you're anti-Houston. You picked them to go to the Final Four, and they delivered for you. This year, you're going the other way.
They just flat out do not have the same offensive firepower. And if you watch Conference USA over the past couple of years, how has North Texas done when they've gotten the tournament? Oh, that's right. Last year, they beat Purdue. Like, the points in this game is crazy. They may not win this game, but Andy Kennedy has resurrected his alma mater. I think they have outstanding scoring punch. They could shoot the three. I know they don't have the same athleticism from a defensive standpoint that Houston boasts, but way too many points. I'm going to take the dog here, Matt.
This game's going to go down in Pittsburgh. It's also a Friday night 9:20 tip, and I'm going to take Houston. I think this is going to be a popular 12/5 pick. Here's the deal. Houston has missed 2 of its top 4 scorers most of the season. Kelvin Sampson's done a wonderful job, and it hasn't had a lot on the resume, which is why it's got a gaudy record but didn't get a good seed. I think because UAB is coming in relatively hot, it's got a wonderful player named Jelly Walker that you're going to want to watch. He's a fantastic talent, and he can keep UAB in this game. I actually think this will be a popular money line pick, but I do like Houston in this spot, and I like him big. Made the Final Four a season ago. Kelvin Sampson's a very, very good coach. I would think that Houston's going to take this one. Good push from UAB.
So you'll lay the 7.
I would lay, yes.
All right, so we got sort of one on each. You want to break the tie here, or are you going to go after that total of 136.5, Todd?
No, I'm going to look to break the tie here, and I'm going to put myself squarely on the same side as Tim Doyle with the underdog here. Matt talked about the key scorer in this game, Jelly Walker for UAB. We know he's capable of going off at a moment's notice. We saw that on full display in the Conference USA Tournament. But when I look at Houston this season, there's no doubt to the guy's points. Kelvin Sampson has been able to mold this team and adapt and adjust to some of the wrinkles that have been thrown their way. But I worry a ton about how battle-tested they really are. You look through the resume that Houston's compiled over the course of the season when they stepped up in class athletically. Until their dominant performance against Memphis, it left a little bit to be desired. I think the American Athletic from top to bottom really was a struggle. Houston wasn't battle-tested on a night-in, night-out basis. And while, look, I'm not going to call Conference USA a murderer's row by any stretch of the imagination, I think UAB can win in the half court. They can win if it gets a little free and loose here. I think the Blazers are live underdogs here. Not willing to back them on the money line as I made this game 5.5, but I am more than happy to take the points.
All right, next up, let's go 4-13 in Illinois against Chattanooga, and I'll pinball back to you, Todd Furman. 136.5 is the total. When you look at this game, Illinois is an 8-point favorite. They're the 4 seed. Look, I'm not watching a lot of Chattanooga hoops. I got to be honest. That's why I have you guys here. What do you want to do with Illinois against, are they the moccasins?
They're the mocks.
I love the moccasins, which is basically not footwear, but a snake, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I got yes. That's the kind of analysis I wanted from Matt Norlander. What do you want to do here? What do you say, Todd Furman?
So many different ways to go with that, EK, but I'll attack things on the basketball court, and I will make a case for UT Chattanooga catching way too many points, in my opinion. Illinois, for me, has been one of the more difficult teams to figure out in the Big Ten because you look at their overall potential and you expect this team to be significantly better than what they have been. The problem being is the numbers with Andre Corbello on the court haven't been good by any stretch of the imagination. The more he plays, the worse the Illini perform. And when I look at Chattanooga, again, it's a common thread with a lot of these mid-majors. If you have an elite-level playmaker out there, it's going to give you more than a puncher's chance. I think Malachi Smith is that guy. And I think the Mocs have all the makeup to be a team not only to cover in a number that I think is a touch inflated, but to win this game outright. Common trend for me, gentlemen, I think the Big Ten, despite getting 9 teams in the field, there are a lot of these teams that are overseeded, and I'm going to look to go against a bunch of them in the first round.
He says take the 7. You say what, Matt?
I'm going to take Illinois to win this and cover. Trent Frazier is one of the best defenders in all of men's college basketball. He's going to be all over Malachi Smith. Trent Frazier is going to come up huge. This will be an interesting battle of the guards because Andre Corbello is also a really talented player for Illinois. I don't know if Chattanooga has an answer for Kofi Coburn, although, fun fact, former Kansas player Silvio De Sosa, he plays for Chattanooga. He's got some size to him, maybe, but Coburn's he's a load. Chattanooga won't be able to handle it.
Yeah, I hate this game. I hate this game. I hate this game. If you say that 3 times to Mustafa and Austin Powers, he has to answer the question. I would take the dog here just because it's a lot of points. Chattanooga made a game-winning shot. There's an emotion there. Malachi Smith's a next-level player. Illinois can't be trusted at this number.
All right, next up, how about Michigan as the 11 seed favored over the 6 seed Colorado State? Look, I went to University of Michigan Law School. I didn't even think they belonged in the field. Now it's all the way down to 1, so you can see that line is dropped. Michigan is still favored as the 11 over the 6. 141's the total. Okay, Dance and Hammer, go ahead.
Yeah, come on. I mean, I know Juwan Howard, when he stepped aside, Peter Boyle from Young Frankenstein was the head coach. I'm sorry, it was actually Phil Martelli. And he did an okay job going 3-2. But the emotional roller coaster of that guy's our coach, then that guy's our coach, then we're up, we're beating Indiana, we're laughing at halftime, we lose to Indiana. Oh, we're not getting into now we're getting into the tournament. Like, too much of a roller coaster here. And if you have not seen Colorado State, David Roddy was the Mountain West Player of the Year. But it's not that. It's how he plays. He's built like Rob Gronkowski, but he can dribble, he can pass, he makes other guys better on the floor. You are paying an absolute premium to bet Michigan because it's a brand name. Colorado State should be favorite in this game.
So take them on the money line.
The more you bet, the more you win.
Colorado State on the money line. You said what?
Tim's right on it. Todd can speak to this more than I can. It would not surprise me at all if Colorado State is favored by tip. You said Michigan's -1 right now, right?
They started 2.5, or they're down to 1 already.
I think Colorado State will be favored with this game. By the way, this is what you're starting your Thursday off with on the NCAA tournament. This is the first tip of the first round on Thursday on CBS. I love this. This is a wonderful matchup here. He mentioned Roddy. I'll be quick on this. Isaiah Stevens is the other player at Colorado State. Fantastic, fabulous point guard. Love CSU in this spot. Michigan's lost too many games for me this year.
All right, so they say bet it now because it's not going to be around later. Take the point or take the money line. What say you, Todd?
Single toughest game of the first round for me to try and handicap, because while the boys make a compelling case for backing Colorado State, and despite Michigan only compiling a 17-14 record, this team from a power profile standpoint is inside my top 30, and that's despite the head coaching disadvantage that they may be at in this spot with Juwan Howard matched up against Nico Medved. The reality of this Michigan team is you look at their top-line talent. Hunter Dickinson and Eli Brooks are as good, obviously, as any players that Colorado State has had to encounter in the course of Mountain West play. But to your point, you do wonder where Michigan is at from an emotional standpoint. That an inexplicable meltdown against Indiana, you do wonder if it has a lingering effect. If Michigan was smart, they let Phil Martelli coach the X's and O's and they'll be just fine. But I actually made this game right where the number is. So while it's not popular to do, EK, I'm abstaining. I have no clue who wins and covers this basketball.
I'll make this baseball. Like when you hit a lazy pop-up and foul ground and you think you're out and then the first baseman drops it, you seem to always get a hit after that, right? You got new life. Michigan's got to feel like new life. After what we did against Indiana, they still put us in new life. I'd be very scared.
Michigan fan.
I didn't think they belonged in, and I said it. I didn't think they belonged in. But now that they're in, they may take advantage. Tennessee 17 over Longwood. It's already dropped now, down to 14.5, 133.5 total. What do you want to do, Todd Furman?
Yeah, this for me a principal play, gentlemen, and I'm going to back the Lancers in the first half, taking the points when that number and market ultimately open. Tennessee had to go through the rigors. You saw that emotion, that raw display in winning the SEC championship in a dominant fashion against Texas A&M. But we've seen it time and time again from the Vols in March. Rick Barnes and his teams laying this kind of number, not exactly a recipe for success. I think Longwood has enough scoring to give Tennessee a scare, at least for the first 20 minutes, especially if the Vols are sleepwalking early on. It's been one of my tried and true recipes. Teams that win Power 5 conferences that aren't familiar with that level of success, struggling in the first half of their tournament game, I'll take the Lancers plus the points when that market opens up.
You've been Joe Rocky Top here. You picked them to win the SEC tournament. They did. You like them here?
I like under here. What they're doing defensively right now, they're so locked in. They have an identity. If you looked at what they did to Kentucky, barely break 60 points, 30% from the field. That was a theme in the SEC tournament. They're going to win, but I wouldn't lay all these points.
All right, next up. You want to talk about saying I guarantee it? When the bracket came out, Matt Norlander said, I guarantee it. Loyola's going to be favored over Ohio State even though they're 10, and it's going to be 1.5 or maybe 2. What did it open at? 1.5. Perfect. Knocking it stiff. Now it's 1. Loyola Chicago, 1 point favorite over Ohio State. Total in this one, you're looking at 134. You want to do what, oh guru, on this?
I'm going to leave that total to Mr. Furman. He knows what he's talking about there. Quick background on this game real quick. Chris Holtmann has lived with the disappointing loss last year as a 2 seed getting knocked out by 15 seed Oral Roberts, and now this is what the committee gives Ohio State. This is a brutal matchup. Loyola Chicago tormented a Big Ten team last year. Remember Illinois in the second round. Now it gets Ohio State, which has been fading. Ohio State does have a future first-round draft pick, Malachi Branham, and it's got a top 10 player in the sport, E.J. Liddell. Loyola Chicago doesn't have high-level wins this season. Lucas Williamson, fantastic defender. It's going to be a wonderful game. I'm going to have to go with Loyola Chicago to win this one. But to me, Todd said this about that Michigan-Colorado State game. I kind of land with that here. Ohio State's not fully healthy. I can see this going either way, but I got to go with the team that the metrics say is better, and that's Loyola Chicago.
Sister Jean.
You bet against Loyola. You bet against God, all right? Last 10 years in the Missouri Valley Conference, 12-1 in first-round games. Who's representing the Valley? I'm taking them in this game. Loyola does not shoot themselves in the foot. Sister Jean, she's 102 years old, and one day I touched her cloak, and as I touched it, I go, please live to 90, please live to 90. And I'm still here. I'm betting the Ramblers.
So you're saying not just 12-1 their last 12-1 their last 13 first-round games.
The Valley.
I didn't know. Nobody knows that.
How about that?
Who's better than that?
What more do you need?
Amazing. Very well done by the MVC. All right. There you go. Loyola, Chicago, Ohio State. Todd Furman. We got 2 votes for Loyola. You got a total there at 134.
Come on, Todd.
What do you want to do? Coming in, the water's warm. You're going to go the other way with Ohio State. You're going to attack the total.
You know, first things first, kudos to all of our production staff at CBS for creating a big enough desk, because EK and Matt, you guys are normally in harm's way. When Tim starts flailing around with that hammer, nobody is safe anywhere around. But more importantly, Tim, we know what's in that bag. All it is ripped up newspaper. There's no way it's dollar bills. You never would have gotten through TSA unless you were driving out from Chicago. But I am on the same side as you boys here with Loyola Chicago for the reasons that they both highlighted. Talking about an Ohio State team trending the wrong direction. To Matt's point, I hate the fact that Ohio State had to live with the disappointment of what transpired last year in the month of March. But I don't like this Buckeyes team right now. And if Loyola can force Ohio State to beat them from the perimeter and at least double E.J. Liddell every time he touches the ball in the post, I think Loyola has a massive advantage. I'm rolling with the Ramblers here, gentlemen. I bet them on the money line rather than laying the 1.5.
All right, there you go. Loyola favored, even though they're the 10 against the 7. Once you get to anywhere between 6 and 11, those teams always, you can see from the
line is telling you who to bet.
All right, fair enough. The line's telling you in this one that Villanova's a big favorite, right? I mean, Delaware. There you go. Joe Flacco.
Hi, I'm from Delaware. It's Wayne's World. Hi, we're from Delaware.
The Blue Hens getting a whole heap of points, 16. Total's 133.5. Todd Furman, you're first.
Yeah, this is a numbers play more than anything else. I made this game 13, so I lean towards Delaware. I don't love the X's and O's here, but I wonder about Villanova, again, being a little bit flat. They had to expend a lot more energy than I'm sure the Wildcats would have liked in dispatching UConn by 3 points in the Big East semifinals and then outlasting Creighton in an ugly, ugly basketball game, Madison Square Garden. This will be the embodiment, in my opinion, of survive and advance. The one thing I like about the Blue Hens is that they have 4 double-digit scorers on their roster, and I know I'm really old when it's Jameer Nelson Jr. who sets the pace for this team.
I'm going with Nova in the second half because they make free throws, and when they start getting fouled, the clock keeps going and going and going, and all they do is keep making twos, and you come down, you're heaving threes, you're missing, and it goes. Give me whatever the halftime is. I'll take Nova in the second half. You say what?
Villanova's going to win. I think they'll win easily. Delaware was the 5 seed out of the CAA. That's the 5 seed had never gone from the CAA tournament to the NCAA tournament. Jameer Nelson Jr., very fun player. Colin Gillespie has a claim to be the best, at least the most steadiest, valuable point guard in the sport. Villanova had a rocky night in winning the Big East tournament against Creighton. I think it comes out and plays well here, and then it covers that number.
You know, these guys know each other. They're recruited. They're on the same AAU circuit. They're not going to be intimidated, the guys from Delaware. I just think this is too many points. I think Villanova wins, but I'm going to take the dog.
All right, there you go. That is your South region.
Kansas, the 1 seed out of the Midwest. They got a nice first-round matchup against the winner of Texas Southern and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So they'll look to advance. But they have lost in the round of 32 in each of the past 2 NCAA tournaments. Win that game, they'll meet the winner of San Diego State and Creighton, perhaps a defensive battle there. Iowa and Richmond in the 5-12 game. Providence and South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits out of the Summit League, they were champions. Best three-point shooting team in the nation. Eric Henderson replaced TJ Otzelberger. Otzelberger went to UNLV, then Iowa State. Iowa State takes on LSU, who does not have a head coach right now. They have an interim head coach in Kevin Nickelberry. So we'll see how that plays out. Wisconsin and Colgate, USC and Miami. A couple of coaches that have made names for themselves in the NCAA tournament. Annie Enfield and Jim Larinaga. Bruce Pearl taking on Jacksonville State, who got an automatic bid because Bellarmine could not compete in the NCAA tournament. So Jacksonville State on. They'll face the Tigers of Auburn. All right, so Kansas is going to move on. They're going to move on. We're going to move on as well. So we're going to go right down to that 8-9 matchup between Creighton and San Diego State. This is perhaps a defensive battle. Like, we look at the total 124, maybe it goes under, Matt?
Yeah, maybe it goes under. As for the matchup here, I've got my 1-68 up at CBSSports.com, and in that I've got San Diego State 35th out of 68 teams in the field. I've got Creighton down at 44. To me, this is a San Diego State win, but that's 8-9, right? What do you want from me? It's an absolute coin flip. Should be pretty low scoring. I do think not having Ryan Nembhard, who's Creighton's star freshman point guard, he's out for the year, hurt his wrist. I think that could come into play here. And I don't know if Creighton has anyone to answer for with Matt Bradley of San Diego State. Then again, Ryan Kalkbrenner is a 7'1" big who can step out and shoot guys. There's going to be interesting mismatches in this game. It'll be low scoring, could be compelling, but I don't, if you tell me like first to 65 wins, I might say no one's getting a 65.
So who am I writing here in my bracket?
You're writing under.
No. But what am I writing? Am I writing Aztecs or Blue Jays?
You're writing Tex.
Okay.
TECS.
You're thinking defense. You had the under in the Mountain West Conference Championship game as they lost
And it went
to Boise
flying
State.
under, yeah. And they had played a game earlier this year, San Diego State and Boise State, where San Diego State only scored 37 points.
Mm-hmm.
This is an under team. This is an under game because Creighton is actually defending. Wait, you could actually play defense and go to Creighton? Well, they did in the Big East title game, and that was another low-scoring affair. This one should be first one to 54, and they just go, congratulations, boys, you won. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I'm going to be rooting for Creighton because Mrs. Susie Doyle went to Creighton, and I mean, Akeem, you know what happened when we went on campus there. Yeah, she was showing me all the buildings. Then we got to her apartment where she used to live. She goes, look up at that window. I said, yeah, what happened up there? She goes, you don't want to know. I go, we all have a college past. Okay, honey, don't rub it in my face. I think Creighton wins, but I really like the under.
Kenny, how about the under here?
I think the total's just about right. They are both great defenses. You're going to see this total come down, though. Probably close around 120. I like Creighton. I'm rolling with Creighton.
Yeah.
Jim and I talked about them on Sunday, or on Saturday, that they were the best team on Friday, and they competed right down to the wire with Villanova. I thought they're playing really good. Yeah, they lose Ryan Nembhard 6-7 games ago, but it looks like they've kind of moved on and they've gotten the new identity, and they're just playing so well on both ends of the court. They do rank 18th best defense in the country in San Diego State, 2 top 25 Ds. So, I can understand why everyone likes the under. It probably will be low scoring, but I think it's going to be Creighton coming out in front.
All right, let's look at the 5-12 matchup that features Iowa and Richmond, 2 conference champions, Big Ten and Atlantic 10. The Spiders snatching a little bid there as they do some bid thievery on this day, taking down Davidson. 10-point favorite are the Fighting Fran McCaffreys. How do you see this one playing out, Matt?
Number should be bigger. Richmond's down to 12. It's 12 in name only. Richmond should be on the 13 line. By the way, bid thievery, this would have been Dayton in the field, but going to play in Dayton had they made it. Dayton's the first team out. And oh, by the way, this probably won't come into play, but sources indicated to me that there actually is a team replacement policy still in place for the NCAA Tournament. Highly unlikely that will come into play, but Dayton would be the first team there. I'm going to take Iowa in this spot. Iowa, to me, is playing on the level of like a 2 seed right now, so you got them at a 5 here. Big-time value. Keegan Murray, college basketball fans already know about this guy. He's been wonderful. He's been one of the most improved players in the country this season. He really might become a top 5 draft pick. He's already played well. Big-time stage here, wonderful player. And for Iowa to do this, guys, a year after being a 2 seed, getting knocked out early when they had Luka Garza National Player of the Year, wonderful story. Fran McCaffrey's done a great job. I like Iowa.
Yeah, don't remind me, because I picked Iowa to win a national championship last year because they had Luka Garza. They also had Nunji, who was a very productive player for Xavier, and they had Keegan Murray, and they also played horrible. This is a letdown spot. There's way too many points. Richmond, when you go through their roster, they got all experienced guys. What are we going to handicap in this tournament? Experience. Jacob Gilliard, point guard play, not scared of the big moment. What were they down? 15 to Dayton in the second half, came back, won that game. By the way, they beat Davidson. I know it was the last second kind of Davidson's favorite over Michigan State. And now I'm getting 10 points? Iowa wins, but way too many points. I'll take the dog.
My number is right on in this game, side and total, but I will take the opportunity to talk about Iowa and this team and Keegan Murray and Chris Murray and Bohannon and all of the players, the 3-point shooters on this team, McCaffrey's sons. This is the second best team in college basketball, and they're a 5 seed, and they showed it this weekend. I know a lot of people are down on the Big Ten, but they are a really good conference. 9 teams in the tournament. And this team just won 4 games in 4 days and had to play on the road, basically. This was a Purdue home game. It was all Purdue home crowd. And it's a really solid Purdue team. The top 5 team in the country. But Iowa really played well from start to finish, and they beat up on Purdue, and they look like the better team to me. I think Iowa's that good. I have them number 2 in my power ratings, and they're a 5 seed. They were a 5 seed going into today, and they won the conference tournament. How could they not move up to a 4 seed? I have no idea. But you know what? That's disrespect. Should help Iowa in this tournament. But again, my number's right on this game. I'm not betting them here, but I already have them in the championship game against Gonzaga. They'll play for the championship. That's how good Keegan Murray is.
All right, we'll see about that. Best three-point shooting team in the nation, South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits come into the NCAA Tournament on a 21-game winning streak, longest active streak in Division I. They match up against Providence, the Big East regular season champ. You got Ed Cooley, Coach of the Year in the Big East. You got Eric Henderson, a great coach there for South Dakota State. Certainly, if they win a couple games, he's going to put his name in the mix for some big jobs like Maryland, Louisville, perhaps LSU. I'm just saying, if they make a run, I like to root for these small
without a doubt.
majors.
Without a doubt.
Big sell here.
I'm going to go on the
Big
record
sell
and
for
say
the
that Eric
Jackrabbits.
Henderson is not going to be the next coach at Maryland. But I get what you're saying. They got a great opportunity. I don't want to walk into this trap, guys. South Dakota State, you said that three-point rate, by the way, among the best in all of men's D1 in the past decade plus. An amazing shooting team. Providence has been a team that has won despite its low metrics all season long. This feels like the most popular 13/4 pick maybe in tournament history.
Yes, because it's going to happen.
Excuse me, Tim. Yes. It's so popular. Ed Cooley. Oh my gosh, would you not love to be in a film session with him this week? I'm going Providence. I'm not even going to mess around with the number. You guys talk about the number. I'm just going to take Providence to win this game. It could be among the most entertaining must-watch games. By the way, this is our second tip on Thursday. So when you get going, just a reminder, you'll start with Michigan, Colorado State. That'll be going for a little bit. And then you get this one, a wonderful way to start your NCAA Tournament Thursday.
I already hired Eric Henderson at LSU, clearly. What do you got here? What do you got?
You know what Providence is? Give me my one shot, okay?
Okay, let's go.
Like, this looks like a pocket square. It's not. See, it's just a bounty. See, this is just a bounty. It's just paper towel, okay? Where I'm from, we call that fugazi, okay? That's what Providence is. Fugazi! Yes, they are. They have won so many close games that there's actually a metric called luck. There's a luck metric. And they, according to this luck metric, are the luckiest team in college basketball. Matt, correct?
Yes, but it's not actually luck. It's more about how often you're able to win in close games and that, rated against the likelihood that you'll continue to do it.
What is the meter called?
We don't need to. It's called luck, but it's at KenPom.com, and KenPom himself has said, you know what, I should have never named it luck, so let's just be clear about that. Go ahead, continue. Context, what do you want from me?
The line is telling you all you need to know. Like once in a while, when you look at a line, you go, that looks up. That's it. It's like an experience. They shoot the three. They didn't lose any home games. They're going to take great care of the basketball. Last time Providence stepped on a basketball court, they got walloped by Creighton. Like they're on the other side of the mountain. They peaked too soon. The line is telling you who to bet in this game. Jackrabbits, the more you bet, the more you win.
Kenny, what's the line telling you?
The lines tell me it's right on, but I got to say the two best lines I've heard today, Tom Brady is the ultimate bracket buster. That was amazing. He took an hour out of the day for everyone here. And then, hey, you know what? When Tim said, how did I become the bookmaker? Someone said, well, you have the hammer in the bag. You should be the bookmaker. Two best lines of the day. So that made me laugh. This game's going to go over the total. It's got to go over the total. Both teams are far better offensively than defensively, especially San Diego State in the metrics, 12th best offense, 220th defense.
South Dakota State. You're getting your SD states confused.
South Dakota State. I don't even know who I said. South Dakota State, 12th in offense, 220 on defense. Providence should have their way offensively as well. So over the 150 for me.
All right, this is going to be the last time I mention Eric Henderson in this segment, but it's only because it's going to be a segue.
What are you, his agent?
He replaced TJ Otzelberger, who went to UNLV, who then went to Iowa State, which takes us to our next matchup. Okay, that's called a professional segue right there for you, Tim, because I know you're going to be doing some hosting soon. So that's kind of how you lay it out there. Okay? So it's LSU, who has an interim head coach, in Kevin Nickelberry. Iowa State, LSU, your initial thoughts of this matchup, Matt?
This is the least appealing 6-11 on the board here. Well, I'm just saying.
Don't use your funeral voice.
No, I'm not.
That was your funeral voice right there. You just went, I'm really sorry.
That's
really
not
sorry
the case.
for your loss.
Well,
yeah, you got funeral voice.
Love this magic, by the way. There's going to be a month of this. Can't wait, by the way.
So good.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. Iowa State as an 11. Here's an interesting situation with this team. The resume is surprising that it landed on the 11 line, but in kind of in style and how good this team is, actually it feels like an 11. So I thought the committee did a good job here. I've got it ranked 47th out of the 68 teams in the field. But really, what are you going to get from this game? You're going to have an LSU team that doesn't have its head coach anymore because Will Wade got fired out of nowhere over the weekend. And I was talking to one source. He said, yeah, some of the players are pretty broken up about this. Like you're taking your head coach away from them. I'm not saying Will Wade didn't deserve to get fired. He clearly did. People throughout college athletics have been waiting for it to happen for 3 years. But you're going to do this to a team and the players, 48 hours before they learn who they're going to play. This is a hard one to predict because there's so many different variables. Iowa State will ugly up this game. They've got a good shot to kind of pull it out in like a weird 57-54 kind of deal. I will rally around LSU rallying, winning and covering this number because Iowa State's kind of been sputtering more and more as the year's gone on.
I just cannot bet Iowa State because 3 out of their last 4 games, they scored 36 points and 41 points in a whole entire game. LSU, those kids on the team, they went to LSU because of Will Wade, and now he's not leading this program. I think you may be able to get an emotional win, maybe one. I think they have 2 NBA players in Torrey Eason and Darius Days. I called their win against Louisiana Tech. They have some athletes. There's just no way I could bet Iowa State. They might score 37 points. So I'm going to go with LSU.
It's right on the number for me. So I got a pass on this game. Actually, the total has dropped as low as 123, and obviously everybody thinks it's going to be that low scoring of a basketball game. So I'm going to wait a little bit. Maybe it'll go down a little bit lower. I'll take the bait and go over. Iowa State did score 68 at Baylor 2 games ago. So they show they can score a little bit every once in a while.
All right, let's go to our next matchup there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Colgate. If you don't know about Johnny Davis, you're probably going to know about Johnny Davis. Wisconsin should win this game. Will they win this game?
Wisconsin will win this game, and this is just a tough spot for a good Colgate team that can shoot really, really well. But it just so happened, first-round site this year is in Milwaukee. Wisconsin was not projected to be an NCAA tournament team before the season. Johnny Davis wasn't projected to be a first-round pick, a second-round pick, anything. Wisconsin's been a wonderful story, and Davis has been a top-5 player in America. Matt Langel is a tremendous coach for Colgate. They're going to have to go into Milwaukee and face a road environment here. By the way, this is your penultimate game of the first round. It will be the second-to-last game on Friday night. It's a TBS tip. I'm going to go with Wisconsin in the spot, but we talked about Providence. Both those teams are in this region. Wisconsin, lowly rated in the metrics. It has played well in really, really close games. Colgate last year gave Arkansas a run early. Hogs pulled away. If Colgate can repeat that performance in this game against Wisconsin, it's got a better chance at keeping it close late. And because Colgate can shoot well from 3, I actually think it's a fun long shot money line play. I'm not going to go there, but I think it's at least on the table if Colgate can be in it by halftime.
Do the Fighting Greg Guards cover 9?
I wouldn't lay 9.
Okay.
Colgate, and not just that game. You remember when they played Tennessee a few years ago? That was another game. Colgate, right down to the wire. You're getting 15 in that game. I think the line is finally caught up there. Colgate's for real. They can shoot the 3. They're experienced. This moment isn't too big. And Wisconsin is sort of like Providence. They won a lot of close games. All of a sudden, everyone started believing in them. I'm going to wait and see. There's no way I'm going to lay this many points. I'm going to take the dog.
Kenny, you eyeing a total here? Are you looking at the side between this matchup and a 14-3?
I played the dog here too. I took the points with Colgate. I'm just, who was on the committee that went to Wisconsin? Was the whole entire committee from Wisconsin or what? They gave him a 3 seed. Ken Pom has them 34th best team in the country. A 3 seed they gave him, and they get to play in Milwaukee. I have no idea how that happens, but Colgate's going to give them a battle here. They shoot the 3 exceptionally well. That's the difference maker in college basketball. If you can shoot it, this team plays fundamentally sound basketball. So does Wisconsin, but they'll be in this game. They'll hang around.
Yeah, it'll be a virtual home game for the Badgers, so let them march on against Colgate. All right, let's go, move to Greenville, South Carolina, USC, Miami. Andy Enfield, Jim Larinaga, a tough matchup, 10-7. It's a 1.5-point spread, Matt.
Intriguing game. USC has a gaudy record. It hasn't lived up to what people thought it would be in terms of beating real opponents. I just saw Miami over the weekend at Barclays Center. I will see them again. I will be here in Greenville to cover this pod for us for CBS Sports HQ because Duke will also be there. I will go USC here. I believe USC is the better team. Miami is capable. You've got an interesting big matchup between Sam Wardenberg, a stretch five from Miami who can step out and shoot, and then Isaiah Mobley's been a pretty nice player, him along with Drew Peterson. I think the Trojans will have enough. I think they're slightly better than their seed here, guys, but I don't disagree with the seed it got, if you follow me there. So I will go with the Trojans in this matchup. This, to me, is among the tightest, if not the tightest 7-10 we have on the board.
I like under here. I think USC is at its best when they're defending. Mobley's been outstanding this year. The games that they've been most competitive in and won, the Trojans have done on the defensive end. I know when we think of Andy Enfield, we think of Dunk City and how much fun that was to watch, but this team is long, they're athletic, and I think this game is going to go right down to the wire. Low scoring affair, under.
I'm right on the number in this game. Maybe a little bit to the USC side, leaning to their side in this game, minus the one.
All right. Let's move right along. Auburn, Jacksonville State. All right, 15 versus a 2. 16.5-point favorite. Auburn's marching on. Do they win by 17, Matt?
I think there's a good chance. I just want to see, like Jabari Smith, this is an opportunity where you come out, you make your presence known, you win big time, and I think Auburn will be able to do that. But I will note Jacksonville State, even though it didn't win a conference tournament, it was the regular season champion, so it did prove it at that level. But I think this will be a big time Auburn.
I got a mean tweet from you like 6 weeks ago because I told you to lay points with Jacksonville State, and how did it go?
Not good.
I know, and you rubbed it in my face. We're supposed to be picking each other up as co-workers. Ray Harper's team is the Undertaker gif. They were dead, now all of a sudden they're alive. They're like, wait, we can still get to play? I'm going to take the dog here.
Kenny, what do you got?
I am all over Ray Harper and Jacksonville State in this game. Auburn this year, 13-3 ATS at home, 7-9 ATS away. They really play great at home, but you know what? They don't get to play this game at home. And Jacksonville State, Ray Harper, they'll hang around. They'll cover.
So you're saying hats off to Ray Harper. That's a Led Zeppelin reference. Back to you, Hakeem.
Well done. And how about Jacksonville State, though, right? Like, they got a free invitation to the big dance.
Yes, but it's also they got the way that a lot of people say it should be done is if you win your regular season championship at a mid-major level, aren't you most deserving to get in? It happened to break that way this year because of the Bellarmine situation. So there they go. They get to play the Tigers.
They're in. All right, how about this tasty morsel? Most times covering, a 15 over a 2 since 1985. So
of any 116, 8, 9, 7,
most
10.
times covering a 15 seed over a 2 seed to cover.
That's tasty.
That is a tasty morsel.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.